Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Frank Botello, Product Manager at Windows Server Marketing. We have with us here Venkat, a Senior Program Manager for Windows Server as well. And we have Sean, who's going to help us at the end with a quick case study. We're happy to have you all here. And let me see if I can get the next slide. And I'm sure by the session description that you're all interested in learning a little bit more about application compatibility, certification, and readiness. The main purpose of our presentation today is to try to help you develop quality applications on Windows Server 2000 AR2 by providing you with information regarding Microsoft testing standards, Microsoft testing tools, how these tools work, and how you can use them to develop and test your applications on the Windows Server platform. If you have any burning questions throughout our presentation, please feel free to ask those as we go through. But do remember that we have about 10 minutes at the end to go over all the questions you might have. We also have some USB keys and some literature that we can actually give you at the end of the presentation. So if you want to come down, we'll be more than happy to hand those out to you. Yeah. I'll advance the slide. All right. So we're 1 minute into our presentation, and before we go any further, I want to make sure that you know what we're going to cover today. If you're looking for a deep technical discussion about coding and application compatibility, this presentation is probably not designed for that. I would rather say this is more a 200, maybe a 300 level discussion with very important information about how to test and develop your apps in Windows Server. So things that we're going to cover for sure today are a quick overview or highlight of the enhancements that Windows Server 2000 AR2 have come to the release of our newest platform. We're going to talk about our logo program. We're going to have a quick review of our marketing benefits, and we're going to talk about our tool and the testing tool that we have and how these tools would actually help you test your application. We're going to do a demo with the tool with a very detailed step-by-step on how to use the tool and how you can actually take advantage of that. We're also going to have a quick case study at the end by Sean that will probably be of interest to you. Things that we're not going to cover, as I said, is technical, deep-level discussions on these enhancements for Windows Server 2000 AR2, or technical discussions on how the tool works. Or we're going to give you a lot of details on how to use it, but no technical further discussions beyond that. So in terms of a quick overview of the features that you find on Windows Server 2000 AR2, you're probably already aware of many of these. Again, it's not to show you those, but to point out that Windows Server 2000 AR2 is a good platform to develop your application. It's actually the best application class enterprise application server in the market. And if you see, starting from a scalability of support up to 256 threads to management of live migration, this is definitely a great platform for you to develop your next generation of applications on the Windows Server platform. So here's a laundry list of most of the enhancements that we have for Windows Server 2000 AR2. Again, you probably already know of many of these, and the purpose of it is not to overwhelm you with information, but rather to categorize these enhancements. So you probably want to bring your eyes into different buckets of these enhancements, and that can help you find what you're looking for when you're developing your application. In terms of, let's say you can go for Hyper-V and do a little bit of research in that, or PowerShell. Again, we're not going to go into deep discussions on each one of these enhancements. We'd rather present it to you, and I'm sure there are a lot of sessions at this event that you can go and find out a lot more information about each one of these enhancements. We're more than happy at the end of the presentation to come And if you come and ask us, we can point you or guide you where to find information about each one of these enhancements. And I'm sure, as I said, there are plenty of sessions that can help you find a little bit more information about each one of them. So with so many changes and enhancements, right, you're probably wondering, what's the recommendation for Microsoft? Well, I usually put it this way, and I have 3 recommendations. Those are test, 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 right? Even if you're coming from 2008, or I'm sorry, from 2000 or 2003, it is obvious that if you're going to 2008 R2 or 2008, you're going to be testing. But even if you're coming from 2008 to 2008 R2, we highly recommend that you test your app on Windows Server platform. Microsoft has done a lot of testing already on what we call the completed app list. These are mission-critical applications that are mostly antivirus or backup of management. And most of them have already been tested on Windows Server 2008 R2 successfully. So it's good to know that we have tons of resources that we're going to cover here today to help you test and to help you see how you can actually integrate these testing standards into your development and testing process. Some of this information might be found at this website, link on the screen, and you can go there to find out more about our program. So many of you probably already know about our logo program or our certification application program. Many probably already have a logo. Again, the idea here is not to show you what the program is, although it is good to see the structure of the program, but to help you maybe map your application into what level of our program you might be falling into, right? If you are developing an application for a mission-critical customer, maybe you're looking at a certified for logo on top, which is our highest level of quality testing, with more than 100 test cases included into our testing for that. Again, we're going to go over the tool. We're going to show you what the tool is, and you're going to see those tests in a little bit when we do the demo. If you are looking for an application that needs at least compatibility on Windows Server 2008 R2, maybe you're looking at the Works With level that we have in the middle, as you can see, and that would be the appropriate logo to look for. Again, we're trying to help you make sure that you understand what the structure of the program is and how you can go to Microsoft and get these resources for testing in your application. To be honest, the application baseline application compatibility level Works With, I would say it is a must for every single application out there. It's about 30 test cases, and again, we're going to go over that in a little bit. We're going to actually run the Works With tool right here in front of you on an application to make sure that you know how easy it is. It usually takes an average about 40 to 50 to 1 hour on an average application to run this tool. So again, we've done it extremely easy for you to test your applications. And at the bottom, we're more than happy to see a good momentum on Windows Server 2008 R2 and having thousands of applications or ISVs that have actually partners that have actually pledged support for Windows Server 2008 R2 and supporting their customers on our platform. So your question would be, okay, what is the steps, right? What do I have to do? How complicated or how simple it is for me to go through this process? Well, it's very simple. From just downloading the tool, the latest tool, to getting the logo, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4 step, as you can see on the screen. And you can get through that from benefits, marketing benefits that are including up to 50 partner points and listing and worldwide exposure on our catalog, to many other benefits you can find as we go through the list of many other marketing benefits that we have here for you. So make sure that you download the latest test tool. Make sure you update your application if it's needed. Make sure you pledge support, and make sure you earn the logo at the end. And enjoy and take advantage of the marketing benefits that this actually brings to you. So the biggest question after that is, okay, so what Microsoft has done, and how is Microsoft helping you take advantage of these tools and using them to integrate those into your development process and into the way that you're actually testing your apps. I'm sure I've gotten a lot of feedback even at this event where I've asked questions to some of the ISVs that are coming to our booth, and I say, how are you actually testing your application at this point? They say, well, I'll just run it. Probably not the best way to test your application. I know a lot of other people are more diligent than that and actually do a lot of testing or their own testing. In this case, we're going to show you our testing standards and how Microsoft would like you to be testing these apps. Maybe you already have a testing process and a testing standard in your own environment, and that's great. That's good. It's better than I just run the application answer that I got, as I said earlier today. But again, it would probably be good for you to take a look at what we're looking for when we're testing, and that would probably help you understand from the Microsoft perspective how we are expecting these applications to run on Windows Server. For that, we're going to have Venkat help us with the demo and running the tool, and he's going to explain you how to actually do that.
All right. Thanks, Frank. Hi, everyone. Sorry about the little bit delay in our start. We're trying to set something up for you guys. Like Frank explained here, our goal is not to try to tell you how to write your applications or how to test your applications. We know that you know your customers best, and you are doing the right thing by testing your application through moving platforms, through moving technologies. We are here to try and help give some tools that can quickly tell you whether your app will work in a variety of enterprise environments where the enterprise best practices are turned on, and will it work with the change in the platform? Does the app do things like, does the driver work under stress? So we have some requirements and tests that we have put together as standards to achieve these works with and the certified programs. On one hand, we are trying to establish what does it take to have an app tested at this quality bar. So we write our requirements, we talk to subject matter experts inside Microsoft, asking them how their technology, for example, if it's Active Directory, how best an app can take advantage of Active Directory, what are the things it should do, what are the things it should not do. So we work with subject matter experts inside Microsoft and ask them to help us write a guideline or a white paper, if you will, on how to use some of the technologies. So we set the technical bar for this standards program. On the other hand, we also try to create tools that will help you quickly and deterministically validate your application against this technical bar. So we are certainly interested in giving you a white paper style document, which we have published. So on the other hand, we also want to give tools that you don't have to think about all these test cases. Run this tool against your app, get prescriptive guidance on how your app works, and go fix those things that matter to you most. And on top of that, the logo programs that Frank explained have additional marketing benefits if you go actually comply this requirement, right? So this is the software certification toolkit that's been published externally. It's free for download. Your dev and test teams can download it and have a look at the requirements document, test cases document, and the toolkit actually helps run these test cases, right? We'll be taking a little bit more detailed look at the Works With tool today, because that's the quick and easy tool. In about half hour to 1 hour of testing, your teams can get a prescriptive test report on how the app behaved on R2. The certification tool, as you saw, is a higher level technical standard. And there are some productivity tools, the Windows System State Analyzer and Load Gen. Quick words about Windows System State Analyzer, Load Gen. I may not cover that much today. The State Analyzer tool, as the name indicates, can help differentiate between states of the operating system and give a list of things that changed on the operating system during that time. As an example, if you started a snapshot of the operating system and say you install your app, configure it, run your primary functionality, and you wanted to know what your app did to the operating system, you could take another snapshot, do a quick diff. The tool is going to give you a list of things like file system changes, registry changes, any changes with the drivers and the services. So all the important settings that you care about to keep up the Windows server's health, stable, those changes will be readily available to you. That tool can help with that. The Load Gen tool is a stress tool. You can configure it such that you can simulate artificial stress on the computer to raise the CPU usage to 70%. You can configure things so that the server is under stress and have your regular test harness for your application run at that time and see how your app behaved when there are limited resources. So those are the two tools that are free, again, along part of the certification toolkit. We won't cover them in detail. Works with tool is what we're going to cover. As for value to the dev and test and IT pro community, the state analyzer and load gen tools can be scripted. So if there are any quick smoke tests that your dev needs to run, he could, kickstart a quick snapshot and, run a smoke test and see how things worked. And there are some resources and how to fix common failures guidelines on our MSDN forums, also in the technical documents they can look at. As for the test, it's a highly automated self-test tools. What we would like for your test team to do is that add these test tools to the mix of their regular test process. One-off testing with Compat tools in place is going to help catch a lot of these issues ahead in time. So we recommend that your test team take these highly automated tools, make it as part of their one-off test sign-off runs during the development window of your product. And as a policy, what we have made is we have made these tools black box enough so we can tell customers and IT pros to run the same tools on your application for evaluation purposes. So customers could run this tool on the same app and figure out what are the best practices the app meets and what it doesn't meet. So it's like a simple black box test tools that we targeted at each of the audience here. So I'm going to jump into the demo. There's a bug right there. I think we have to do some more testing on our own slide deck. It's 11:18 today, so right? Today's 11:18. I think there's a bug right there. So I'm going to go back and do a demo there. This is a Hyper-V box we are running on this demo mission. And what you're looking at is the Works with tool. Like I said, the tool is a simple navigable wizard that guides the test or the dev through a set of tests. And for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to resume my existing test that we already put together. And the tool is self-explanatory. What the tool does is it looks for installers in your application. If you have one, if you don't have an installer, we always get ISVs to come and talk to us saying we don't have a standard installer. We are an ASP-based app. That's okay too. So if you have installers, it's going to walk you through identifying your installer first. And identifying installer and get some information about the installer itself in the background. And there are additional tests that you can run in this tool. Those are optional. For example, you can check this checkbox over there for RDS, remote desktop, to see whether your app will work when you deploy on an RDS environment. And the certified program also has some scriptable tests that are in this tool. They're also optional. They can be checked. They'll be run in the background. So at the other end of this test, you'll get a prescriptive list of results. I'll spend a little bit more time on that. This wizard is a click-through wizard. It's going to ask very basic questions about, tell us where the installer is, and it's going to ask that the tester minimize this tool, install your application while the tool is running in the background. As you can see, it's going to also enforce a couple of the enterprise best practices during your test cycle, or I would like to call it the application life cycle. From the point where you install your app till you uninstall the app, in between you'll be doing a primary functionality and configurations. This tool is going to verify that the best practices that we care about are not turned off and they are not affected in any way by your application. And like Frank mentioned earlier, and I also reiterated, it's not our goal to cover the functionality of your app. We know you know that well. So this tool will validate that while doing your functionality, what are the best practices that the tool is adherent to and what it should, and it's missing today. So this is a screen where it's going to get some information about the installers. It's going to ask you to install the application, and for example, if it has drivers, if your app installs drivers, the tool is going to verify that the driver actually is signed, because unsigned drivers don't load on R2. And the driver is tested for boot time and runtime verification tests if there is any issue with blue screening that can happen So there's a tool that you may be aware of called Driver Verifier. We hook up with the tool, we validate some of this. We also hook up with a familiar tool to devs called Application Verifier. We get a lot of good logs from there and tell you whether some of the issues there can affect your customer experience. So as you walk through this test, you'll come to the screen where it's going to say, okay, we're all done. Just uninstall the application and answer some basic questions. Once you do that, this is the test report the tool is going to give you. And this is where I want to spend some time. For those of you who are like mostly dev audience here, ignore the part where it says you've achieved a certification standard. It's more of the marketing part of the things. But the green and red differentiation will tell you whether this app will earn the logo certification. And while that's one of the goals that we want more and more apps certified, but what we want to highlight on the test report is the detailed test report and results that you get after running this tool. Like I mentioned, for a small app, you can run the test in about half hour to 1 hour. Once you're done with your test, you're going to get a list of prescriptive logs. And they will help identify some of the most common issues that apps face in this environment. As an example, if you have MSI packages, did MSI packages fail any consistency checks? That can cause more issues when you upgrade, when you do an in-place upgrade, when you do a side-by-side install. We can catch a whole bunch of those things by running this tool. So your test will have a very actionable error here on what the warning was, what potentially they can do to basically they can copy paste this. The way we see it, your test can simply copy paste file a bug saying, hey, we need to fix this, right? And your dev has information here and also in the test framework document on MSDN links on how to actually solve this issue. So it's a little bit more actionable from the dev test point of view. More information here, driver logs, and general good practices. Did your app replace older files, which it should not? Did it install 16-bit binaries, where all the binaries installed by the app were they signed, where your driver signed? You're going to get a list of this information with pinpointed logs and information over there. Here is another piece that I personally like. So this log here is going to tell you what are all the system changes that happened during application testing. You can drill down and find out how many DLLs, EXEs were added. Did you mean to add a file? For example, a lot of times we find the installation team comes back and finds that, hey, we don't need to be adding these files to installers, they're legacy. We should not be bulking up our installation with this. So they get a lot of list of files they should or should not add. And other thing we also catch is that for example, if there is a EXE that got dropped onto desktop, which it should not. So we catch a lot of these things, put them in specific buckets of area. Let's go down here. Actually, let me go back. So changes recorded outside program files. So you can simply look at this and find out why is your app adding a lot of these files, outside program files. Obviously, I put together a demo application that will do a lot of these bad things, so we can trigger some failures for you. Oftentimes, we find that there are third-party applications that you bundle along with the application. They cause some other failures. So it's probably easier for you to go tell your third-party vendor or your component provider to fix some of this in their code so your mutual customers are not going to get affected. So a tool can give you such prescriptive guidance and help your test a little bit more focus on the environment when they're also focusing on the functionality of the app. If there is more time, if there are more questions after this presentation, I'm happy to chat one-on-one. In the interest of time, I'm going to give it back to Frank here so we can cover a little bit more about the benefits of the program and any marketing and additional benefits that your company might be interested in. Thanks.
Yeah, so I just wanted to point out a couple of promotions that we have and make sure that you know during our program and our benefits from the marketing perspective, you can actually take advantage of what we call, for example, the grandfathering program. If many of you or some of you already know that your applications were certified for 2008, well, we have the opportunity to actually have those certified in 2008 at no cost. We're doing that until December 31st. And on average, if you are certified for app, you save about $10,000 just for doing that through our grandfathering program. Or you can earn another 10 partner points by doing that. This is one of the programs that we currently are doing. You obviously need to test your app using the Works with R2 tool that Venkat just showed you. And that would give you a good baseline on how your application is doing on Windows Server 2008 R2. And then if you're doing the Certified 4, you probably have to do some stress testing as well to make sure your application is good to go on Windows Server 2008 R2. But in general, I think it's a great program, and I'm sure you'll probably be able to take advantage of that if you were certified for 08. So in terms of our launch, this is what we call our, developer launch, if we want to call it. The idea is to promote the program, but not only the program that we have according to the logos that we just showed you a minute ago. We also want to make sure that you understand the program is tightly associated with the test tool, and we invest on the tool to make it easy for you to go through this program. But you don't have to go through the program. You can just use the tool. It's free, downloadable. You can use it in-house, as Venkat was saying. You can download the tool on your own and test it and just follow Microsoft standards without ever going through the logo program. At the same time, we just wanted to show you how many people are actually taking advantage of that. And with the launch of the Windows Server R2 release, which is obviously happening as we speak, we already have hundreds of partners that have already tested or logoed their applications on the new platform. And we have thousands, more than 4,000 actually partners that have, as we mentioned before, that have pledged support for Windows Server 2008 R2. So again, it is a great opportunity to take advantage of the tools, test within your own environment, make sure you're following Microsoft standards, but at the same time, why not, if you already passed the test, why not take advantage of the marketing and business benefits that we get with the logo program that, as I said, is tightly related to each one of these levels that we showed you before. So to summarize, I would say we would really, really like to take away a couple of things out of this presentation, right? As I mentioned at the beginning, the three things, besides these that I have on the screen, are test, test, test. But yeah, so the first thing would be obviously test your app. Make sure you download the latest test tool that we showed you today. It's a 3.0. I know the last one we had was the 2.3. Yeah. So this one, the 3.0, I think Venkat, I don't know if you mentioned that, but it's been a lot of enhancements and a lot of improvements to the tool in terms of including, for example, testing for RDS, or remote desktop services. Yep. And obviously all the testing is done on Hyper-V. So that's another, on Hyper-V and 64-bit. Right. So that's another good standard that we're following for Windows Server 2008 R2. And it would be great to have that across the board on all the applications that are running on the server. So make sure you not only use that, but maybe you want to integrate all this process into your own development and into your own testing environment, right? We've heard so much feedback from ISVs regarding how much these tools have helped them in the past and how much they've been able to either find bugs or come up to speed in certain areas that they didn't know about Windows Server. So it's countless the amount of times that we see ISVs actually talking about how integrating the tools into their testing and development process help them identify issues. And then obviously, as I said, make sure you take advantage of the benefits of the program. Now, to give you a quick example of one of the ISVs that actually took advantage of the program and so very concrete results, we have Sham here for Quest, and he's going to give us a quick case study on how they actually saw the program and how it actually helped them in their own company.
Should I fire up your presentation?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's do that. Okay. Let's get to your presentation here.
Thanks, Frank. Really am happy to have an opportunity today to quickly share a little bit about our experience as an ISV certifying a few of our applications, and one specifically for the Certified for Windows Server program. My name is Sean Barker. I'm a product manager with Quest Software. And just to give you a quick overview of what Quest does, we have a fairly extensive development organization that crosses database application management, database management. The area that I specifically work with is Windows management products, and specifically Active Directory management products. And we're actually one of Microsoft's global ISV partners, so this whole certification process is pretty important, not only for our customers, but as part of our relationship with Microsoft. Before they were looking at the Works With program, we actually go towards the top of the stack, so the Certified for Windows Server certification for our products. And that's partly because our customers are installing these applications on Windows servers. They're running them against domain controllers and Exchange servers, and you know, there's obviously quite a bit that's covered by the Works With logo. You know, the Certified for program goes into that much more detail in terms of some of the things that it checks for and the stress tests that are part of the certification process. I was going to share a little bit about what the development team who worked on the Quest Recovery Manager for Active Directory product went through certifying for Windows Server 2008 and most recently for 2008 R2. There's obviously some pretty tangible benefits for Quest customers for going through the certification program. It gives us some third-party standards, evidence to show that we conform to application best practices when we're developing our applications. And there's a number of benefits that we get as an ISV from going through this process. That includes things like being a good Microsoft partner. Frank had mentioned the partner points that we get as part of the certification process earlier, and we turn around, we've got hundreds of developers at Quest Software, and those contribute to getting us MSDN subscriptions, so there's a tangible sort of monetary aspect there. Definitely there's a number of marketing programs that we can leverage as part of this, including being included in the online catalog that has all the applications that are certified. But most importantly, and certainly the piece that our development team is most concerned with, is that this whole process has a very tangible benefit in terms of contributing to our application quality. This is just a quick screenshot of the application that I'm talking about. So this is Recovery Manager for Active Directory is one of the products I'm responsible for, and it specifically, its main purpose is to do backups of Active Directory and perform recovery of the Active Directory database and item level restore of Active Directory objects. So as I mentioned before, this is typically the application itself is installed on a Windows member server. It runs against domain controllers, and we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,500 to 4,000 customers that have this application installed, and having having the certified logo is certainly important and makes them much more confident when they're installing it in their environment that it's been through a series of standard tests. One of the questions that I was asked to consider when I put together these slides was why did we certify Recovery Manager for Active Directory for Server 2008 R2? And the first answer is that we've actually been certifying it on every prior platform as well. So just speaking from the timeline here, that we first started going through the certification process with Windows Server 2000. Way back 6 years ago in 2003, we certified for Windows Server 2003, and then we certified more recently for 2008, and then took advantage of the grandfather program that Frank mentioned, which is we were actually able to leverage the certification for 2008 R2 free of charge. And having gone through the 2008 certification previously made it a lot easier. Another aspect is that many of our customers aggressively adopt new Microsoft platforms, so they're on the next version of the OS before, or they're testing it at least and getting ready to deploy it almost before it's actually generally available. So that the first thing they're looking for is, as an ISV, are our products supporting them? Does it work on 2008? Does it work on 2008 R2? And these questions for 2008 R2 were coming up very early this year, so even before the GA of the product. And having the certification logo was just the go-to first step that we use to demonstrate that we actually support the new platform. Just to quickly go through the certification process that we follow as a company. Certainly there weren't many changes at all between the process for 2008 and 2008 R2, but between the certification process for 2003 and 2008, there were some changes. So usually when we go through this process again, there's a stage where we learn a little bit about the new tests that are involved in the certification process and get educated on that. And as I showed earlier, we've been certifying for over 6 years on this product, so we have turnover internally. So we've got new resources who need to learn about the certification process. We set up a test environment that emulates the environment that will be tested with by the third-party company, so virtual machines, Hyper-V. And then we use the self-test tools that Microsoft makes available to pre-test and make sure that we're going to find proactively any problems that might happen or show up before we actually go through the certification. And this is a pretty important step because it makes the actual certification so much easier. Then we test, and then we fix. So if we've done our work with the self-test tools, usually this step is either non-existent or very simple. If we haven't, then this can be longer. And I was going to go through a couple quick examples of what's involved in this whole fix step. And then, if there are changes that we have to make, there's MSIs we have to sign, or that sort of thing as part of the certification, then we do a retest and hopefully get our pass. Just to give you an idea of what our experience was doing the certification for Windows Server 2008, so this was a little while ago, in terms of the time that it took. So we have a development team for this product, which is in the neighborhood of about 10 developers, and then some test people on top of that. But usually just one person that's working on the certification. In the case of Server 2008, it took 1 to 2 weeks to get familiar with the new certification process. So there were some changes from the Windows Server 2003 process. Ran the self-test tools, and then we spent 2 to 3 weeks fixing different bugs that came up as part of the tests. And that's a fair amount of time. There was a number of things that we hadn't. Even though we'd certified in the past, we kind of strayed away from some of the best practices there, and it showed up here. It took some time to fix those problems so that we could do a retest and get a pass. So in total, it's around 4 to 6 weeks to get the certification for 2008. And then we retested with 2008 R2, and it was a much simpler process. So a couple of days to learn the new process, and that was mainly because we had a new test resource to do the certification. We set up our environment, we ran all our manual self-tests, made sure that there were no issues that were going to pop up, and then ran the 48-hour stress test, and it was just straightforward, 4 days, and we had the certification for R2. So I asked the development team for the product sort of what their top recommendations would be to you and things that you might be able to take away from here, and what we certainly learned going through this process. The first one is to ensure that setup package, the MSIs, they pass all the ICE verifications. And you can usually do this by using any MSI authoring tool like Install Shield or Windows Installer XML. Second is ensuring that all binaries in MSI are signed with valid Authenticode signatures. And this is one of the mandatory requirements for passing the certification. The most important piece is the third bullet, and this is where, when we did the certification for Windows 2008, all that time was in fixing issues, is pay attention to how your application handles errors. Part of at least the certified for certification process is testing your application in hard conditions, so conditions where there's a shortage of resources like memory or handles. And even if the application doesn't operate in that scenario, it has to handle it gracefully. So when we were certifying for 2008, it was handling it by, in a lot of cases, just crashing. And what it should be doing is giving you at least a graceful error, unable to launch your product console because not enough memory available or something like that. Those are not easy problems to fix, and that's where that sort of 2 to 3 weeks of fixing came in for 2008, was identifying those. Some of these tests, they run for a number of hours, and then you find out it failed, and you have to go back and make some fixes and try it again. But the last point is that what we've been able to do is take this sort of process when we have each new release of our product, run the self-test tools, and these sort of best practices that we've incorporated into our development process as part of handling these types of scenarios, is actually make sure that we adhere to them going forward. So when we do a next certification, we're not going back and having to refix everything. So we just maintain these standards on a daily basis, and whatever development process you use, if it's Agile or Waterfall or XP, make the application lifecycle management process part of that culture and continue to maintain that going forward. And with that, I'll hand it back to Frank.
Well, thank you, Sean. I guess this is a really great example of how the program can actually be of great help. Let's just put the other one. Yeah. In a specific case of a specific ISV that was able to find value in running the certification. Obviously, these are what we call great citizens, and they've been actually certifying their applications since 2000, and that's great. But remember that for 2008 and 2008 R2, we made it even easier and more streamlined to ensure that most of the ISVs at any level, at the certified for level or the worked with level, you'll be able to actually take advantage of our program. I think next slide is just a reminder of all the different resources we have. Besides the things that we've discussed here today and the tool and how much we're actually making this tool available to you, you can find things like mailbox aliases that we can answer any questions you have as you go through the tool. Once you go back and download it and use it. If you have any questions about how to fix the application or anything, we have obviously our technical team backing you up with answers to the questions you send to our alias. We also have an MSDN forum supported to answer any questions you might have about certification in general or testing or your application in general. We have our Windows Server catalog. Don't forget that, where we list every single application have been certified on Windows Server 2003 and forward, I think. So 2003, 2008, and 2008 R2. And we also even have the ones that have pledged support for Windows Server 2008 R2 there too. And then we have tons of other resources under MSDN that I'm sure you probably are already aware. One of the main one is msdn.microsoft.com/appcompat. And you can go there and find a lot more resources when you're fixing your application. These are quick links to where you can find the tool, because again, that's the whole purpose of our presentation today, is for you to get a hold of that tool. So we have some USB flash drives here. If you want to get the tool directly from us, we have them here. We can hand those out to you as we finish by the end of this presentation. So come down and we'll give those to you. We also have, as I said, some material in the back for you to pick up when you on your way out. Please remember to provide your feedback and fill out the evaluation forms. And
should we go back?
More information on Channel 9.
Okay, cool.
We're going to go, I think we have about 15 minutes. If you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer those. If we have them from the audience. Otherwise, if we don't have any questions right here, as I said, we're going to stick around for a little while if you want to come down and talk to us. Any questions? Well, thank you so much for coming, and we'll be here to handle the USB.
Thank you, guys.